find the exact value of the cosine of 105 degrees. Okay, so I mean we could use a sum formula or difference formula, or any other type of formula that we know. But in this case, we want to use a half angle formula. Okay. Now here's the tricky part, right? We don't take half of 105, right? What is the half angle formula for cosine say? It says that the cosine of a over 2 is equal to the plus or minus of 1 plus whatever the cosine of a is, all of that divided by 2. Okay? So what we have to look at here is what we're actually trying to find and what we are plugging in. Okay? The key here is, once again, this is the cosine of the angle divided by 2. Okay, so if you look at 105, right, remember, we don't take half of 105, right, that's going to be 52.5, right? But the idea here is, well, what is 105 half of? Okay, we know that 210 divided by 2, that equals 105, right? So think about that. The angle that we actually plug into the formula is not 105 or even 52.5, right? It's going to be the 210, right? Let's try to rewrite this. The cosine of 210 degrees over 2, well, 210 over 2, that is 105 degrees, right? But what does that half angle formula say? It's the plus or minus of the square root of 1 plus the cosine of a, right? So in this case, what do we plug in here? We have to plug in the cosine of 210 degrees. And all of that divided by 2. And now the plus or minus, remember, it's not both. It's one or the other. And how do we know which one? Well, what are we looking for? We're looking for the cosine of 105 degrees. Well, okay, what quadrant is 105 degrees in? Right, that's going to be in quadrant 2. Okay, so that means then that, well, this angle is in quadrant 2. In quadrant 2, cosine is negative, right? So our answer, whatever it is, right, has to be negative. Okay. So once again, the cosine of 105, well, 105 is half of 210, right? So it's going to equal the negative of radical 1 plus the cosine of 210 divided by 2. Right, another note here, we don't just put 210 here, right? It's the cosine of 210 degrees. Well, wait a minute. What is the cosine of 210 degrees? Well, the cosine of 210 degrees is negative rad 3 over 2. So it's 1 minus rad 3 over 2. All of that over 2. Okay. Now, of course, this is the answer, but we can do a little bit of simplification here. Okay. So what we mean by that is there's a complex fraction. We got a fraction on the numerator, a fraction on the denominator. Let's see if we can simplify this, right? So if we just look at this part, okay, we have 1 over 1 or 2 over 2 minus rad 3 over 2, all still over 2, right? This 2 on the denominator. Well, this has a common denominator now, right? In this case. So we'll put that as 2 minus rad 3 over 2. That's just this part right here. And we still have everything over 2. Okay. But you got to remember, right? Dividing by 2 is the same as multiplying by 1/2. So really, this is 2 minus radical 3 over 2 times 1/2, right? Because this is a division. That actually just equals 1/4, right? So we get 2 minus radical 3 all over 4. And actually, this 4 we can actually bring out. Okay. So we have something like this 1/4 here. And then 2 minus radical 3. Remember, this 4 is on the denominator. And the square root of 1/4 is 1/2. So we get negative 1/2 radical 2 minus radical 3. This is the most simplified version of the answer, right? Of course, this is just what we get once we plug cosine of 210 degrees in. Okay, but the most simplified version of this answer is going to be this guy right here. Now, if you used a sum formula for cosine, we would get an answer that looks a little bit different, okay? But numerically, it's the same thing, right? Just using a different formula to get at the same answer.